Hi, I'm Sophie, and welcome to my world. Well, those of you who are in the cold, cold weather have become very, very concerned about my little friend Teddy, and that he was not dressed warmly enough, and that he needed a hat and a scarf. And so I'm going to show you how to make a doll-sized hat and scarf out of duct tape. Now you're going to need some duct tape, you're going to need some scissors, a ruler is helpful, a dry erase marker is great if you've got one, some string. This is really good to have to measure things. And a tassel if you want to make a hat like this that has a tassel on the top. Now, to do a tassel, I'm going to just suggest you go take a look at my tassel tutorial, which is on my YouTube page, just since it takes a little bit of time. So that's a tassel. Alrighty, so now to start this out, I'm going to remove Teddy's little hat and scarf that I've already made him here. Sorry, I hope you're not cold, Teddy. Don't worry, you're getting more stuff really soon. All right, so the first thing I have to do is measure little Teddy's neck for his scarf. So I find that string is the easiest way to do it because, you know, if you try to use a ruler, it's not very flexible. So I'm going to use a piece of string and figure out that I want it to wrap around his little neck and then come down. And so I'm going to give it a little bit extra here. And this will be his scarf. So that's the string I'm going to use for his scarf. And then for his hat, I'm going to measure around his head, from the back of his head, up around the front, right to the front of where his head is. And I'm just going to snip right there. Okay, Ted, I'm going to put you back here for now. I'll put your hat on. Now what I'm going to do for right now is I'm going to use a piece of duct tape fabric. Now I've already made myself a piece right here, and this is going to be for my hat. And for this one, I'm going to need a piece that is about 9.5 inches long. Okay, so this measures out at 9.5, and what I want to do is I want to add about a 1/2 inch extra. So I'm going to mark it 10. And the reason I'm going to do that is because when the hat rolls around on itself, I want to have something for it to secure itself to. So I'm going to measure 10 inches there and just cut that right across. I'm going to make the hat first and then we'll make the scarf separately. I don't really need this anymore. I'm going to put my scarf right there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is pull this around and secure it. But I do want to make sure before I secure it, that it fits Teddy's head. So come on back, Ted. So I'm going to pull it around like that, giving myself a little bit of extra here, just to make sure that I've got it perfect for Teddy. Okay, Ted, that's pretty good. So you can see I've got about 1/2 inch of overlap there. Let's measure. Keep going to millimeters. Okay, so it's a little less than 1/2 inch, maybe a little like 1/4. And what I'm going to do is take some tape here. I'm going to seal this. So what I'm going to do is rip off, I'm going to make this a 1/2 piece. This tape doesn't rip very well. I'm going to put this on the inside edge here, like this. I'm going to take little Teddy's head, lay him down, and I'm just going to wrap this around and get it where it should be secured, and then I'm going to stick it down, like that. Now, if I want to add like an extra special part like this, this would be the time to do it. So I'm actually going to do that now. I'm sorry, I just realized I forgot to do that. So I'm going to take this extra pattern part, and I'm just going to place this right at the very, 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 very edge. And then I'm going to turn it over and flip this up. This is going to be on the inside. You want the big part on the inside. Cut this little extra part up. Okay. Ted, come back. So remember, this part's on the inside. goes around to there. Pull this off and seal it. Now I'm going to use a piece of this red tape. Since it doesn't rip very well, I'm going to cut this piece. I don't know why, but that certain brands don't rip as well as others. And this is a different brand of tape than Duct Tape brand. And sometimes you're going to find that it just doesn't rip as well. Okay, so now I'm going to seal this, and I put it up and over. So now I basically have a tube. See that tube? And what I'm going to do is take some little pieces of tape, and I've actually got some that I've set up for myself right here, so I can use them. I'm going to take my tassel, and see where that seam is? I'm going to take my tassel and just tape the tassel right at the inside of the tube at that seam, just like that. And then I'm going to close this on either side. Now what I want to do though is I want really thin pieces of tape. So this is on parchment here, so what I'm going to do is just cut this really skinny, really, really skinny, so that when I seal this, and I'm going to seal this on an angle here. See how I've got a little angle so that I'm really tight in here because I want to make the hat pull in on itself. And if I use a big thick piece of tape, those sides won't be able to come in. Okay, so now I'm going to go over this side. Same thing, making kind of like a little X here. And see, there's not very much. I've got, see, it's sealed pretty close to that tassel. Now what I do is I bring this side in like this. I've pooched it in, and then I pooch it in on the sides like that. Okay, let me show you one more time. So I take this, I pooch it in with my finger, and then I pooch it in on the side and pooch it in on that side. And then I'm just going to take this piece of tape and seal it. And the reason that I've cut these pieces ahead of time is they're nice and clean. So because they're going to be on the outside, it makes it nice and clean. I do the same thing on the other side. Open her up, pooch her in, pooch it out to the side, and pooch it out to the side. Take a piece of tape, kind of like butterfly wings almost, and pulling it in as I tape it. So there you go. Now you got his little hat. Now I do need to add a tiny, tiny little bit of tape down here at the bottom because remember I put a nice piece of tape here to seal this, but this end is not quite as sealed. So I'm just going to use a little teeny piece of tape to seal that. Okay, now I'm going to fold this all up. Remember, this is why I told you that you wanted to have the lion's share or the biggest part of that tape on the inside there. Okay, now I have a little bit of red there, so I'm just going to take a little bit of this extra tape and cover it right to the edge and around. And there we go. He's got his little ski cap. Okay, put this on his head. Do, 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 do. The perfect fit. Okay, now he needs a scarf. Okay, remember that other piece of string that we cut. Now for this one, we're just going to make a fold over strip. Now this one's going to be pretty long though. So we're just going to use the string as our measuring. Lay my tape down. Let's see. That's about right. You don't have to get too crazy on this one because, you know, it is a scarf, and a scarf can have a little give, okay, as to how long it is. Okay, I'm going to cut this tape right here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this edge that got a little squidged. Don't worry about that. I'll take this, flip it over, and I'm going to do a fold over strip. Now this is a long strip, so I'm going to put my fingers in the center here, even though it's super sticky, and do half at a time because this is so long. So I'm folding it up all the way up and sealing it. And try to seal it so it's nice and smooth. And folding it up. Sometimes when they're this long, It can get a little scudgy, but again, don't worry about it because it is a scarf, for goodness sake. It's meant to be wrapped around. Okay, now if you've got a little bit of edge, a little bit of white, just trim. Now the other thing too, if you want to make it thicker, you know what, actually before I trim this, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually make this a thicker scarf, just so you can see it. Because you could trim here and then continue to make the scarf, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to seal this edge, you guys. Ooh, this tape is so bad. Excuse me. Save that and make a basketball out of it. You know, it's funny. Sometimes I think what happens with duct tape, at least I've found that this happens with us sometimes, because we have a warehouse and we keep our duct tape in the back of the warehouse where it can be a little chilly. Sometimes I think the duct tape loses its stick or gets extra sticky, or when the elements affect it, it gets affected. Okay, I am going to lay this edge right in the middle. There we go. Smooth it down. So now I'm not going to have to worry about that cutting and trimming that edge. And now I can fold this over. Now I can fold it all the way up and make it kind of thin, or I can fold it and give it a little bit more thickness for my scarf. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to trim this edge and trim this edge. And like I said, I'm not going to get too terribly worried about the fact that there's some creases here. For the most part, it looks fine. Now, to make its edge and ending so that its hat matches, I want to make sure that it matches his little cuff. I'm just going to take a little bit of this tape here. I'm going to put right here on the edge and fold it up and over itself. And then I'm going to fringe it. Cut off the extra bit and fringe it. Just make it nice and fringy, like a real scarf. Do the same thing on the other side. Put a piece down, flip it over. Cut off that little bit of extra, trim it to make the fringe. There we go. And make sure that you trim off that little extra white if you got it, like that. And put it around Mr. Tedley's neck. So now he's going to get it tied, so it goes around like that. And tie it around. There we go, Mr. Teddy. A nice long scarf for you. Here. There we go. Oh, and where's his hat? Where'd your hat go? There we go. And now, Teddy's all ready for the cold. You feeling warmer now? Ugh, you're still cold? Okay, well, I'll get you some hot chocolate. Yay! For more fun ideas that include my little friend Tedley here, come and check us out at Sophie-World.com. Don't worry, I'll get you something good to drink.